is Wednesday, my dudes.
Welcome to another episode of Wednesday Toast, a podcast about comic book stuff where we talk about all kinds of comic book related stuff. My name is Lex, and I am here with another recap episode for Black History Month. Obviously, this has been just a wild month, a very long Black History Month, and I've been very busy. It's just been a weird month, right? I've been really trying to engage with the community and try to show my support for this upcoming milestone book. I know it's a very complicated situation with multiple moving parts, and it almost seems like this 100K push is counterproductive, but I have conflicting feelings about it, right? And I hope people show up for this book, and I hope it shows that there is a fan base out there, and the people that say they want more milestone and want static, prove it, all right? And I don't know. I don't know what the future for Milestone looks like. I know that it's hard being a fan of Milestone comics and watching it pop up and disappear over and over throughout the years. You know, a lot of people say you should just support more indie comics, and I agree with that sentiment as well. I think both things can be true. But this episode is not going to be about a milestone, but it should have been. But I saved it for next week. This episode, it's going to be an old episode. It might have been when the podcast was still called the Wednesday Pull List, which is coming back. Spoiler alert. In a sense, it's going to be my first. We talked about it in multiple episodes, just trying to like gauge our community a little bit and see how they respond to it. But it's coming back probably the first week of March. I know I said February, but I have been working on a lot of this stuff, getting the back end of a lot of this stuff set up. So I'm excited. But this week, I'm going to listen to our episode where we reviewed Killadelphia. Killadelphia was a great book by the wildly talented Rodney Barnes, art by Shawn Alexander. I think it came out in 2019, and the story follows a small-town beat cop who returned home to bury his murdered father. The series follows a small-town beat cop who returns home to bury his murdered father and discovers that vampires have always been present in the city. I followed this. This is the first volume. I'm pretty sure you reviewed, but I continued to read this story, and it was still so good. I may have fallen off. I don't know if it's still going. I need to check it out, but the Savage Dragon was in it at one point. Spawn was in it at one point. It is such a good series. And Shawn Alexander's style was just perfect for it. I'm not going to keep too much of your time. This is going to be a short intro for another relatively long episode. I lied to you last week. I'm just full of lying to you. Next week's episode is going to be long as well. So I'm going to just get ahead of that. But I'm about to listen to this. I haven't listened to it yet. So I hope you will listen as well and we can enjoy it together. I hope you are just pushing through this Black History Month. I hope that you are just trying to get through it like the rest of us. Enjoy the episode. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening to those ads. And again, if you didn't, that's okay too, because sometimes I skip ads when I listen to podcasts. I'm sorry.
I never do. I love advertisements.
Especially if it's like the same ad, like ours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. As long as you listen once.
Yeah, you got the gist.
You listen once a week. It's fine. So this is the section of the podcast where we review a comic book trade. Some people might say it's a trade review.
Some people.
Here we are.
People.
And this week we are reading the book called Killadelphia. It's pretty popular. I think it's optioned for a movie or a show.
I can see that.
I might have just been thinking that while reading it because it definitely has that vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rodney Barnes has done some amazing writing. He wrote Wu-Tang, the American Saga that came on Hulu. He wrote Marvel's Runaways, Star's American Gods. These are all great shows. He's written a ton of books. Another book we're going to read this month called Quinn's Credible. I think I might have butchered that title. Amazing writer. And this book, I have to know, initial thoughts, Simon. What'd you think?
Overall, I liked it.
Mhm.
Coming in, I wasn't I don't know. I don't want to give too much away in my initial thoughts,
yeah.
but it was an interesting book and I enjoyed it overall. So
it was different from what I wouldn't say from anything we've read yet, especially the art style. That was something that it took me probably the first 2 issues to get used to, and then I really enjoyed it, which we'll talk about more of that in a second. So, Killadelphia. When a small-town beat cop comes home to bury his murdered father, the revered Philadelphia detective James Sangster Sr., He begins to unravel a mystery that leads him down a path of horrors and shakes his beliefs to the core.
Path of Horse.
The city that was a city that was once a symbol of liberty and freedom has fallen prey to corruption, poverty, unemployment, brutality. That's it. That's the end of it. And also vampires, which is it's like all that stuff's terrible, but it's also
Not even the
riddled
worst.
with vampires.
Yeah.
But the mystery goes even further when Jimmy's investigation leads him to uncover the source of the outbreak is the long thought dead president of the United States, John Adams, which I thought was so weird.
It was very random, and I thought it's weird in that synopsis, it's like the long thought debt. It's like, obviously, man, he was a founding
Yeah,
father.
he was the second president of the United States.
Yeah, you don't have to say long thought debt. We all know.
It was just like, I wish we had like a soundboard where I could press like a gas. Bum, bum, bum. John Adams is a man secretly biding his time as he builds an undead army to start a new, bloodier American revolution.
Do you have to take that long?
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, a long
A
ass
l
time.
and it's just like, did he really even do that much in the time that he did? Like, he took over Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like,
What is that? 100 years?
it was a couple hundred years.
Yeah, it's been a long time, John. You're lazy.
You're real lazy, dude. He was out there gallivanting, man,
Yeah,
out there
cutting his hair.
getting weird vampire sex.
That's a great.
Trying on different outfits. Like when they show a scene of him like through the era, like one time he has a top hat on,
Yeah.
one time he has a turban. I was just like, oh, this guy's out there gallivanting.
Yeah.
Hey,
If y'all haven't seen the Key and Peele like vampire skit, go
that's
watch it.
exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh, it's great.
John Adams is out there wasting time. He didn't want to start no American Revolution. He could have took over in 200 years. He could have taken over all of America.
Yeah, he could have done it himself.
He's out there just telling, I don't even know,
Yeah.
being a politician.
Yeah, exactly. Bureaucracy.
Freaking wasting time. Okay, so I kind of like the style that we did last time because it kind of honed our tangents in a little bit. Our episode actually was only a little over an hour, which is a record for us, I think.
Record.
This one, I'm gonna go. You made some notes, which is it's good because my some of my summaries are a little long.
Mhm.
So, because this book is really, I'm going to start off by saying that this book is really dense. There were panels that I had to reread. And these are, I guess I could say these are not gripes, but cons. I go on so many pros when I read books or talk about books that I like. And then I end up like saying, oh, there's nothing I don't like. Well, these are, I guess, what we classify as cons. Sometimes it was hard to pick up on the who was saying what when.
That was 100 in my first issue notes. Do you wanna
Because
just go issue by issue?
Yeah, we'll go issue by issue. So let me give you guys a brief summary. It might be kind of long. A brief summary of issue one. Killadelphia Volume One is 1 through 6, as I mentioned before. So here we go. I was gonna make like a West Killadelphia born and raised joke, but I wasn't. I
It's like a
wasn't.
screen metal.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling it, so I scratched it out. It starts out really strong. It gives off a vibe like a HBO cop show.
Mhm.
That's the vibe I got, and I like those shows, kinda like The Wire. So it's called Sins of the Fathers, this first arc, and James Sangster Jr. returns to Philadelphia because his dad was murdered, right? And you automatically see glimpses of his dad being obsessed with work, kinda being a crappy dad. You learn that he hates his dad, right? But then it's the reason why I started by saying it was hard to see who was talking because there'd be, like, 4 or 5 panels where the dad's narrating, and then it would just automatically blend into the son talking, which I imagine would be on purpose, but for me, it was just hard to tell who was saying what.
Yeah, I have having trouble determining who is speaking, and I think obviously so it's color coded, right? I
Mhm,
think the dad is always red and the son is always yellow or whatever, one of the two. But I was the exact same way because the panels aren't necessarily attached to anyone, like their thoughts. It may not show his father in the picture, or the son in the picture that's in the panel, which I get where they're going and I
mhm.
appreciate it, but I could not figure out for that first little bit like who was talking. I just kind of took it like whatever, okay, we'll
Yeah,
just get through
same.
this.
I realized I had to get through the first issue, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Rodney Barnes is an extremely skilled writer. I feel like it would be extreme way better on TV, like being able to tell the different voices.
Right, yeah.
But for me, because it's like you start out with the dad going over the cases, And then it's the son talking about how much he didn't like his dad and how much he's ready to just leave Philadelphia behind. And then it goes back into the dad solving the case, which I'm like, okay, well, the dad dies and then the son takes on the case. That's the story. But then it ends with the dad. You see how the dad got killed because you don't really get vibes of vampires yet or anything like that. It's just kind of like a case that went the wrong way. He goes to chase down his lead that he's been chasing, rolls up to the projects, and he's like, "Oh, damn, it's a setup." And then instantly you dive deep into, "Oh, these are vampires."
Yeah, you just see that they're, like, hanging from the ceiling or something.
Yeah. And then he dies, which I thought was great that I like to just get dropped into things like that. I
Mhm.
don't need a bunch of, like, history because the whole book is the history, which is good. They wove that in very well. Jason Shawn Alexander is the artist, and as we mentioned before, it's not that it's jarring, it is very artistic, you know?
Yeah, so, to me, it was very interesting, but I have kind of a bad taste in my mouth because it reminds me once Al Simmons kills himself in Spawn. I don't know if this is the same artist, but once he kills himself in Spawn, it comes back as like the white dude, and this is the art style. Like it's the
Yeah,
same.
I
Very,
think
very
it is.
dark.
I think it's the same.
Yeah, very, very, very dark. Very kind of hard to decipher what's going on. You're not getting much environmental storytelling. It's
No.
almost all characters, all portraits, things like that.
Very portrait heavy, like, the faces are they look like actors, like, you could tell who's gonna be in this movie.
That's what I. So I was trying to look up the actor who's the father because it obviously is this guy, but I cannot remember what he's from.
He plays the dad in Doom Patrol. He plays Cyborg's dad in Doom Patrol.
Yes, I was, like, trying so hard. I was like, "What have I seen this guy in?" Yeah, you can totally tell that it's supposed to be an actor, but I don't know. It took me a while to get to it, and I wrote that in my summary notes, like, "Okay, I'm getting used to the art style now. I kinda like it now." Like, for me, this particular issue started pretty slow, but, like,
Yeah,
once you're halfway through towards the end, it's like boom, 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 like, all this stuff happens, like, his dad dies, you see the vampires, and then the ending is like, "Whoa."
he finds his dad's journal where he finds out that his dad has been actually chasing vampires, like, his dad and this medical examiner has found out that there are vampires, and he's trying to get to the bottom of it, he's trying to save the city. And so he's like, I gotta check my dad." I don't remember why he decided to dig his dad up. I don't remember if the journal said something about it.
I don't know, I was trying to think of that too as I was going through, like, did he just because his dad says, like, "Took you long enough," or whatever, which kinda merges into the story that his son is telling about his mom dying of cancer and
Uh-huh.
going to the room, but
I thought that was really good too, because whenever you see him pop up, I was like, "Okay, this is good."
yeah, like, he's got the arms crossed. But, yeah,
It's like a TV this is like a movie. This is a movie moment.
yeah,
Like, you said it would be good would be good in a movie.
it was weird. It was like an off-screen thought, you know? In
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo, if you try to solve the mystery, you won't because they always.
Yeah, it's usually the
Yeah,
opposite.
there's always clues that they don't tell you about, which is why I hate Scooby-Doo. There's always clues they don't tell you about, and this one, I feel like that was kind of the deal. He figured it out off screen, and then, you know, then he goes and digs them up.
Yeah, because it was to me, the only way that it made sense in my head was, like, his dad was chasing vampires, so maybe his dad is alive. But, I mean, it's just a lot to dig up a dead body off of a maybe is just like,
Hey, man, people do it all the time. Maybe he had a good watch.
yeah.
He was trying to get his watch or his
Yeah.
cufflinks.
Maybe he's trying to, like, spit in his dad's face. But he does say that I'm gonna solve this as, like, a "fuck you" to my
Yeah,
dad, which is weird because he said he's just a regular cop in Baltimore, but then now he's a super detective because his dad was a super
got
detective?
those hands, man. So his dad said.
It's true, he has
Yeah.
dad's ha
But I definitely liked the ending, and I love the vampire lore, like,
Mhm.
and we'll get more into that later, but I do find it interesting. So vampire lore usually is like they bite you, they suck your blood, but then they have to feed you some of their blood.
Yeah.
This one is more like a zombie vampire.
Yeah, yeah, I like that they used the yellow fever was,
Yeah, that was interesting.
and that was such a big part of it and how it came from the Caribbean. I thought it was all cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once it dives into the darkness of the because it plays very good at setting up the dark world with just, like, this part of Philadelphia being crappy, politicians and everybody ignore it, they set it up, and drugs overran it, so it's already dark and depressing, and then it's like, "Oh, yeah, they're vampires," and once you dive into the real darkness, the art, I feel like, really takes off and really helps set the
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I mean that's like Philadelphia. That's real life Philadelphia. Like
Yeah,
that's the Philadelphia as a character in this. And real life Philadelphia had some shit happen in the 80s and the
yeah.
90s, and it's like it sucks, you know. So in those areas, so it's interesting, like you said, that they use the yellow fever. They use like this town historical figures. I love the idea like John Adams had yellow fever and came back, whatever. But anyway,
When they dropped John Adams' name in the first issue, because they don't say that he's the leader or anything like that, they just talk about like, "Oh, yeah, John Adams had yellow fever. He was the only person since, like, back in the day or whatever." Not the only person, but
yeah, yeah.
I was like, "There's no way John Adams is gonna be, like, a major character in this modern book." But then he ends up being the main and it's like,
Yeah, so weird.
it's so weird, and it's, like, semi-humorous without being like, it's not a funny book at all, but it just has a bit of a humor to it because it is sort of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's outlandish.
Yeah. So issue 2, we're gonna dive into issue 2. I can't remember if we learn more about Tevin, Seesaw. I think we start learning about him in issue 2, right? Seesaw is this character that James Senior was hunting down. I guess he just had some leads on him. He knew he was a vampire. Come to find out that he is actually like just not a normal kid, but he's not evil. He's visiting his grandma in the hospital.
I love when he comes in and he's talking to her because she's dying and he's like, Nana or whatever, like I can make you immortal. Like I can make all this pain go away. And she says, we get the time we do anymore is an abomination. And I love that quote. I think
Yeah.
it's great. And it's interesting because like you're not seeing much else other than the vampires that killed the father.
Mhm.
And it seemed like, you know, he has empathy, like he has previous memories.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a monster.
It's weird because he kind of explains it later on, like, there's different phases of it, like, you're this mindless beast for a little bit, and then you kind of get, quote, unquote, enlightenment, but I thought he has different powers, like, they have different powers too, they
Uh-huh.
don't really dive into it. You see more of that later on, but he can fly,
Yeah.
you know? Flying, not out some of them can fly, some of them can't, some of them are just, like, more of zombies than actual vampires.
Right, yeah, like they're feral.
Yeah, it was a really cool scene in this issue. Is this the issue with the little girl?
Yeah, the one with Brittany.
Yeah, so Brittany is this chick, she's walking, it's this young had to be like a 10-year-old girl walking down the street, and this creepy dude I got creepy vibes as soon as he rolled up to her.
Yeah,
Like, "Hey, little girl, you need a ride home?" He's
yeah.
like, "I'm
I'm
a
a
police
cut.
officer." Officer friendly. I'm just like, "Oh, I hope this guy died."
Mm,
Sure enough,
yeah.
"Yeah, why don't you pull over right here?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I like where this is going." It's like, "Whoa, barf." And then she switches it up. Apparently, she's been alive since slave time.
Yeah.
She's one of the oldest ones.
Yeah, that's what I so you talk about their powers, that's one thing I noted, it's like, she reads his mind, like, he says, "No, you
Mhm.
know, I'm whatever," and she goes, "Oh, you're this guy who's not really in love with his wife anymore, you have 3 kids, a dog," you know, whatever, she just goes into his backstory, and then he starts freaking out, and it's a pretty cool panel when he's, like, in the because you see all these shadows starting to surround them, but
Yeah.
the artist does such a great job of making him it reminds me of, like, the shadows in Ghost, like, they're just
Yeah.
like these phantom, like,
Oh,
creepy.
super creepy. Everything just blends together relatively well in this. Like I said, I think it's gonna be option for a movie because it feels sort of cinematic, you know what I mean?
Mm.
You get to I don't know if it's Josie or Jose, the coroner.
Totally. I totally wrote that down. Let's see. Think, yeah. So in issue 5 in my notes, I said, I just realized her name is Josie, not Jose.
'Cause I didn't realize it after or in the second issue when it's the chick, I'm just like, "Well, surely this isn't Jose because it's maybe it could be a girl's name, I don't know."
It's Philadelphia, man. It's not Jose.
That's true. So, he goes straight to Josie because that's who is the only other person that knew about the vampires, and he's like, "Hey, I know we don't know each other, but I need you to come look at this." And she's like, "Man, I'm busy. I got dead bodies up to my neck." He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna wanna see this. Trust me, my dad you work with my dad, and, you just wanna see this." And then come to find out that his dad's there, and it's, like, completely normal. So he didn't go through all the phases of the being feral and all that shit. He was just, like, the coolest guy on the planet.
Yeah, he's just a cool guy. Just the dad from Doom Patrol.
He's just drinking blood. They're just like, "I'm gonna need some more blood."
Yeah. Yeah. That's what do you do with the blood from these cadavers? Yeah, it was real weird. Especially since later all those cadavers are like vampires. So that blood
So
wouldn't be good for
so they
vampires.
shouldn't have blood. They were drained or the blood should be bad. It should be poison to him. we're talking about a second ago, Brittany traps this, or basically is like a predator and hunts this guy, this police officer down. They bring him back to one of their hives and have him strung up. And this is a little confusing. I was going to ask you about this. For me, you introduce to Seesaw again, Tevin, and you see instantly that he's sort of this character that has, like you said, sort of a conscience when the rest of these characters don't.
Mhm.
He was sold a dream from John Adams, and he bought into it, but then over time he realized that it's he's full of shit,
Right.
and so he's kind of like wanting to defect. But they're like taunting this guy. They're going to kill him. They bring out these two feral vampires, and he says, "Listen, you could either eat or be killed." So is he talking to those two feral vampires?
Yeah, so I think that's how he gets them on his team. It's like he chains them up, he turns them, chains them up, and then they he says you have the opportunity to be like part of this freedom force or you starve. And they always obviously pick that. And that's why Seesaw is kind of like, hey man, this is kind of fucked up. Like obviously this isn't free because you're giving people an ultimatum.
Yeah, like one option, either be with us or die.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you start to see that this character is because he has like trusted, not officials, but I guess people that have been with him longer that are higher intelligence, that are stronger, and Seesaw is one of those characters.
That's kind of so they're in the morgue, and that's when the vampires wake up. Seesaw goes to see his grandmother again, and she has died at this point. And he's really sad, and he's like, "Well, now people are going to know your name. You know, people are going to know what you stood for."
Yeah, yeah, he does the creepy crying
Yeah.
thing.
Years.
That always creeps me out, and that's issue 2. Alright, issue 3. First of all, the cover of issue 3 was dope. It was like a vampire George Washington, I think.
Yeah, yeah, with like a powdered wig and a tri hat.
Because he talked this is what I was talking about, I thought was an issue 2. This issue is really about John Adams and his journey of trying to live a regular life after being president, and then going to the Caribbean, becoming a vampire, and then just so happens to get this book that has all the magical vampire powers in the history of magical vampires.
hmm Well,
Oh, that was
yeah, and then also I just kind of looked this up because I've heard this a lot. The issue is called Abaddon, and it means place of destruction or the realm of the dead in the Hebrew Bible, which I think is kind of interesting.
oh, that is cool. That is really cool. Yeah, you learn that him and his wife become immortal vampires.
hmm
His wife actually becomes way cooler than him.
What I like about some of the subsequent issues is how it kind of switches the narrative really quickly. Like you'll see, like some of John Adams will say something. Now you're back in the morgue with Josie and the other characters like fighting these vampires.
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt you, but what was kind of jarring in the first issue ends up blending really well into the storytelling further on into the story.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting. So John Adams is kind of talking about like at the beginning, he's looking at the Liberty Bell and he's talking about we overcome British tyranny, but now, we've created a system where only white men, like men such as ourselves, like white men can flourish. And there's like a scene of a black man being arrested while he's walking. And then he says like the other founding fathers wouldn't be cool with what I'm doing, but it's all
Yeah.
about perspective.
It seems like the way he's written is that he is not self-conscious about his accomplishments, but, like, he talks about how he's a joke of Hamilton. He saw Hamilton and how they made fun of him.
Yeah, he was like ineffectual. And I thought that was, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And I thought, so I love the idea that John Adams is the bad guy. And I love the idea that they talk about his yellow fever and how they connect it to like historical events.
Mhm.
But I, to me, it falls into the trope, which I still like it. I'm not trying to knock it, but it falls into the trope of like a monster with a cause. Like there's the bad guy that's going to save the world by doing this thing, but he's really
Yeah.
like he thinks in his reality he's the good guy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but in everyone else's he's the bad guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because he wants a better America for everybody, and it's not, like, just white guys, like you said earlier, it's everybody, people that, you know,
Yeah,
been treated by the current
he's trying to
system.
equalize by making everyone vampires, but he himself was already like creating this caste system by saying, you join my freedom fighters or you starve. You know what I mean? Like he's not giving
Yeah,
people
yeah.
real choice.
So he was replacing the system with a more effective version of the system in his eyes,
Right.
and just by killing everybody. It was so weird. And what else happened in this issue?
It goes more into like he's talking about, like you said, being self conscious. He talks about it's this panel. This was kind of confusing because he talks about going to the Caribbean and going to this village and becoming a, you know,
Mm.
a vampire. Right? He wakes up, there's all this gore, there's like body parts everywhere with the people that he was with, but he got turned. What was it? See, he said his guide that leads him to this like vampire village says he said that Abigail was spared immortality. He mused is a lonely dynamic, but then she's a vampire. So I was so confused by that.
I interpreted it as they killed her, and then I was like, well, maybe they just left her alone and alive to where she could just die out like a normal person, but then she's like a hardcore vampire.
Yeah, she's like a slutty vampire. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought. It was very confusing. Yeah, I mean, it's more about like his dad talking about finding the nests and how he's going to help stop this and how he's not going to be affected because like vampires are family and I'm one of them and that you don't hurt family. As he says that to his son is like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, like they show background panels of him like getting angry at his wife and his son and like smacking his son and stuff like that.
And then you go into Seesaw and he's kind of with his group of
Probably kind of like the top dogs, kind of like his main people that have been
yeah,
with him for the longest.
his dad said that they're kind of like his generals. Some people that are like special forces, some people that are just old and stronger. It's interesting. They have this guy that's kind of like a voodoo guy.
Yeah, he's like a top ass, a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, his name is Toppy. He's basically talking to these guys about John Adams and how he's not into it. Like it's
Mm.
like, I'm done. Because John Adams is just, like we said, doing the same shit that fucked us up in life. Like he's just doing the same thing that we already went through.
It's not gonna be any different once all the dust settles. I also like you talked about how they make it kind of historically not accurate, but play on a lot of the historical events. They talk about how John Adams is diagnosed with yellow fever and all this stuff, and how his wife they talk about John Quincy Adams and how they kind of like made their kids be politicians, kind of like were behind the scenes. His wife dies, quote unquote. It's kind of like she dies and then she gets to go and do whatever she wants. He stays alive for a little while and then he finally makes his big, death.
Yeah. And even then, like the way that you see, I can't remember the main character's name. That was the main problem I had. I just couldn't remember his name. Jimmy?
JJ.
JJ. Like the way you see his dad is almost like his dad was just resting, like hibernating. So I think that's kind of what he meant. Like maybe Abigail really did just get buried for a while.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. I assumed that I think that like societal, like, oh, she died.
Hmm.
Because they do show them like they said the doctors couldn't figure out what was really wrong with him. So they label it yellow fever. And then I think they would just be like, oh yeah, she succumbed to the yellow fever. So now she quote unquote died. And then they also talk about how people would come and open them up, open their tombs up and bring them out periodically or whatever.
Yeah. But I did like like you were talking about earlier, you see him through the ages and his different style. He skinnies up, he loses the fupa.
Yeah.
Uh, but he kind of talks about how throughout the ages they basically learn to like all these politicians and stuff. There's even like a Donald Trump reference in here. That's how new this book is.
Barack Obama. Yeah.
Yeah, but they talk about living, manipulating the system through fear and
Mhm.
creating things for that's only good for top dogs. Like,
Yeah.
kind of takes everything away. But
The dad is basically their connection to the hive and the vampires, and he's like, "Yeah, this place is calling to me," so he goes and checks out the hell whatever it's called, Hell something, Hell House.
yeah,
It's not Hell House, whatever it is. He goes to the projects, and he's just kinda just taking it all in. He feels the urges of being a vampire, but he is so level-headed and such a good cop that he resists them.
yeah, it's such a weird. I wrote in my notes like surprise nudity because
Yeah.
he wa-
Naked old dudes.
yeah, this Stanley looking dude and this
It
naked
just
lady.
says, "Sup,"
Yeah, just walk by. He's like pulls his gun out. He's like, what?
and they just somehow are just hanging from the ceiling now like bats.
Yeah. And this is when you first, right after this, is like, so Sam Adams starts talking about how the poor people are easy to convert. They're easy to be like,
Yeah.
hey, we'll make you an vampire because, like, this, what you're living through is shitty, but we can make it really cool for you.
Yeah, you'll be immortal. You'll also be a part of new America. You'll be treated equally,
Yeah.
like, really.
Yeah. And then, but he says, like, the elite, you have to coax them in. So you use sex and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And this is the first time that Abigail is like introduced as a major character.
Yeah, first time you see her, I think, like, really.
Yeah, there was like one panel that shows her, but yeah, basically she's pretty thick. But then there's more, surprise nudity, surprise gore.
John Adams stays the same, like, he is sticking to his dream, democracy, the American dream,
Hmm.
but she's more diving into, like, the sort of vampire life. Like,
The
"Yeah,
freaky
we don't
vampire, like,
like, I don't really give a shit about that," and he even says, like, he still cares about their marriage, and she's like, "You know,
yeah,
death do us part. We're done with that," like,
it doesn't make sense for immortals.
yeah, she's like, "Let's just do whatever we want," and just to show that their interaction to me is perfect because it shows her it's not that she's the boss, but they're equals, and back in the day, that's not how things work, and she even talks about that later on, like, she was just supposed to be like a doting wife, but now it's not. It's a level playing field.
Yeah,
He has his own agendas, she has her own agendas.
yeah. It's
Surprise nudity, lots of naked people.
yeah, it's a girl, like, having sex with this dude who's just covered in blood. It is really interesting because she's almost like the stereotypical, like, she's wearing, like, a like, a leather necklace with, like, a chain and stuff. James Sangster, the father, is kind of like he's having this internal monologue about just right after that, about, like, how the vampire life is calling him, like, he wants to do that, but he's trying so hard to avoid it.
Yeah, now he's going through an existential crisis. In fact, the sun's coming out and he kinda sits in his car for a second,
Mhm.
lets the skin burn.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's interesting that they don't just completely burn up. I do like that.
Yeah, it's just, like, tormenting themselves
Mhm.
pretty much. That's pretty much the gist of issue 3.
Yeah.
We get to see Abigail, we get to see a lot of the history of her and John Adams and how he kind of his plan, but even though I agree with you, man, his plan seems like it kinda sucks because it's just Philly, and he's been a vampire for 150 years.
Yeah. Yeah, like,
What you been doing, dude?
really not great. And it's weird that they again, and I mentioned this. I mean, this is how movies and comics and books and everything works. Like the plot moves along with your reality, like as you're reading it. But it is weird. We get into issue 4 and like he's like, this is the plan, this is what we're gonna do. And all these vampires just start going out like just for you, because I'm reading it now. Like all
Right.
this stuff is culminating right now that these vampires are going out and just like going into random people's houses, which they shouldn't be able to do. Yeah. So it's like, what lore? These are just like zombie vampires.
I did think it was interesting, man. Issue 4 just hit the ball running. Like, the first panel is just vampires, zombie style, climbing up wall.
Yeah. Going in the subway, ripping people up. It's crazy.
The dad is in his coffin or whatever, just resting, doing the vampire thing, and he's just no, this is not what's happening. He's dead. This is I guess this panel is when he's first dead, and he's thinking about his life, and then he wakes up like, "Oh shit, I'm alive." Because it has him with his arms crossed, and he's thinking about his wife, his son being born, then how he was actually kinda shitty, and how,
Uh,
he hurt his love and all that stuff, and then he died. Then he wakes up, he's like, "Oh, I'm not dead."
yeah. One thing I really, really like about this, which I haven't mentioned before, I love how their eyes are portrayed like the vampires.
Yeah.
The artist does a great job of like making them luminescent, like they really pop, and there's no mistaking who's a vampire.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure. Because it's like black it's like yellow pupils, and then the eye is black.
Yeah,
Which is really cool. And so the relationship between Josie and JJ is forming
Jose.
the entire time too, subtly. Like, I'm thinking, like, she's gonna die, obviously, that's
Yeah, I kind of thought it was. I did write in my notes. I was like, it's a little unnecessary. I don't really. There doesn't need to be
they're
romance.
making a movie, man. It's like the movie formula, there has to be romance in a movie.
Yeah.
GM.
I did like so they're kinda like on a date or whatever, and that's when shit's going down, like, in the subway, other places, they're not seeing it, they're, like, eating a pretzel on the street.
But I do like that this date isn't like a traditional date. This is more like a and he even mentions it, like, so he's like, they're in this the only people that know about this ongoing war, and he's like, "So what do we do now?" Like, the dad has the plan, and, like, "So what
Mhm.
do we do?" And it's like, "Oh, we could talk," but she's like, "No, we can't really talk. We need to start working on a plan." And then he looks up, and these zombies bust out of this building.
Yeah, they're just, like, flooding against the window until like, cracks open.
And bright red,
Pretty cool scene. Some of them are coming out of the sewers, like, people are going nuts.
and they get away.
Yeah, they're telling them to run. I did note there's one panel in here where they're running away from the horde, and now I'm not trying to knock the artist too much or anything, but there's some way weird perspective things going on here that looks a little cartoonish, but whatever.
They get home, and the dad's just chilling there, man.
Yeah, and at this point, he starts like you can see he's kind of cracking. He's like, "Dude, I'm hungry."
Yeah.
Like,
He's like, "Yeah, I get it, I get it. I'm watching the news, but hey." And I think it's or later on the issue, he's like or later on in the story, what I thought was really we'll wait. But it's like you said, he's starting to crack. He's like, "Hey, man, I get it, but we need to get something to eat." And they're like,
Yeah,
"We
I'm
can't leave."
super hungry. And then it switches right into the Adams, and he's talking to like the mayor.
The mayor's like,
And yeah, and they're just talking about this plan, and basically they're watching the news report as the city burns from all these vampires eating everybody.
mhm, they're just drinking blood like it's champagne and Hennessy.
Yeah.
Blech.
Yeah.
You know who needs to be in this movie? Army Hammer needs to play John Adams.
Yeah.
I agree with
Wanna
that, man.
taste your heart.
Wait, we're not using real blood for this? I'm out.
Yeah. What?
So we finally see Seesaw again. He's still with the generals. They go into the police station, and so they talk about like the mayor is helping them as far as like lowering the everyone's sort of guard. So he goes into the police station. He's like, "Well, tell them not to attack anybody yet, or tell them to not go on the offensive." They go to the police station. And they just are ripping up the police officers, which
Yeah.
that's a pretty another brutal scene.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it goes right from that. Seesaw's with them, I think. I mean, he's right before he's talking to them with these guard.
He leaves.
Yeah, he takes off.
He says, "What are we waiting for?" And he's like, "They're waiting on the word. We're waiting on the word to attack." And then they show him. He's like, "Whatever.
Yeah.
You do it."
And then he shows up. These two stories are gonna merge. Seesaw shows up
Yeah.
with the dad. I do like there's one panel where he says, like, "Are you fiending?" And I love how it's like shown all warped, like he's kind of drunk or like kind of lightheaded.
Yeah. And they make it sort of like an addiction type thing, which is makes sense. And his character becomes really cool. I thought he was gonna be lame and annoying when they first introduced him, but he becomes like the coolest character in this story.
Seesaw?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him a lot too.
So it's just really cool because he says, "Hey, I just want to ask you one question. Like, how do you see people like me? You're the
Yeah.
enemy." It's like, is he talking about vampires or is he talking about black people? But they don't dive deep into that at all. They just say, "You know what? Let's go take care of you. Let's calm that monster."
Mm.
And you're like, "Damn, are they about to go eat some people?" But no,
Yeah.
they go hunt rats.
Yeah, and then it just kinda goes into he's talking to Josie, like, the son is talking to Josie, and, he's talking about his relationship with his father and his mother, who his mother died of cancer,
Mm.
and then Josie kinda relates by saying she was, like, joining the convent and, like
She like one ups. She's like, "Yeah, your mom died of cancer and your dad's kind of mean, but like I ran away from
and
home
then my
because my parents wanted me to be a nun,
mhm,
and then my parents
yeah,
died
both of them same day.
looking for
Yeah.
me." It's like, "All right, you win. Let's kiss because it's awkward."
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, "Damn."
Man, I do
Yeah.
think it's so just to kinda go through it, I do think it's interesting, and I like that Seesaw kinda has this idea, it's like they basically hunt rats for because they're trying to keep off of, like, eating humans or eating dogs or cat, like, anything that you wouldn't wanna eat, so they're like, "Well, we can just eat these rats," and they're
Esau's main thing, his main motivation in the story is freedom.
mhm,
Freedom to choose whether if you want to be a monster, you be a monster. That's your choice. But if you don't, because like John Adams is saying, you have to do it my way or the highway. And Seesaw's like, I don't want to kill all these people. I just don't want to. Like that's not what you promised me. You promised me a better place.
he's like, "You wanna fucks with somebody, you fucks with them." That's the way he said it, but basically and then he kinda goes and talks about his grandma again, which is great. His grandma seems like a really sweet lady. But yeah, it just kinda goes more into John, and he's like John Adams as he's walking through the city, and it's just, like, crazy. How are they gonna
Yeah.
explain this, you know? Like, I thought that the next issue where they try to explain what the fuck happened to all these dead people on the street that are just, like,
Terrorist
yeah,
attack.
clawed apart.
Great idea. And so we're in issue 5, and it's the next day. You see the city in devastation. There's a press conference, and they're talking about basically like explaining that it's a terrorist attack. We're gonna try to make this a. My notes are way too in detail, so we're gonna try to make this a loose panel by
Mhm.
panel. Not go as detailed. There's this girl that I thought was interesting. I didn't pay attention to it. There's this girl hanging up missing signs with a chick that looks like
Mhm.
Britain. I didn't notice it until afterwards. I did like that the one of the reporters like, "Come on, you're telling me this is a terrorist attack? That's
Yeah,
bullshit."
all these people don't have
Like,
any blood. There's no blood in their bodies. Yeah.
and then you get the backstory of Seesaw. He was just a regular dude, just like a lot of people, just going through life past the point of where he could accomplish his dreams, and he was just tired of it. And then John Adams comes and promises him this grand adventure. And you learn that he trusted him so much that he gave him this all-powerful book
Yeah. They mentioned that in
which
issue 3, I think.
or it gives him the book to trust because he doesn't want his wife to have
Yeah,
it. So he also, it shows how John Adams sees people still.
right.
Like, oh, you're just a kid. The highest scientist and all these people couldn't do it. You're not gonna. Don't even worry about looking into it because
I don't feel like John Adams is a bad guy, he just has, like, a warped
no,
way of trying to accomplish things,
yeah, for sure.
and it's maybe just from being immortal.
Yeah, and being a founding father, those guys kind of had some
Yeah.
weird views.
I do like there's one specific panel with the father talking about, like, "Used to think I knew what death was," it's either you go here or you go here, and it's like him, obviously a double pager, like, with angels and demons, and it was pretty cool. Yeah,
Beautiful,
it's really cool.
beautiful scene because it shows him in the coffin. If you haven't read this, which kind of sucks because we're spoiling the entire thing, but he's in the middle of it and it's heaven and hell. Like, I feel like this is like a better Spawn book.
Yeah,
Like, it's just every time I read a story like this, I'm just like, why wasn't Spawn good?
right. Yeah.
It's just so bad. Like, I know this is way different than Spawn. This is not that, but anytime you have like heaven and hell,
It's because Todd McFarlane, that's why.
anytime you have heaven and hell played pretty well in a story like this, it just makes me wonder like why Spawn was so bad.
Yeah. We find out a little bit later, Seesaw shows the book to the father. This book, again, I think it was in issue 3 when John Adams gets turned. The guy's like, here's the book. It's like,
World
so- yeah, it solves all of humanity's problems, basically. It looks like a bunch of hieroglyphs. He couldn't ever get it transcribed, but this guy just figured it out. And he's like, it's not about reading, it's about feeling. And you see him do a little magic trick for the dad, which is cool.
ambiguous about the powers of this book, but I guess like it plays so we shouldn't understand it because it is like it explains the history of man and has all this knowledge to again give you enough power to rule the world.
So they've had the press conference. Obviously, some people are privy to the whole vampire thing. They talked to, I believe, the commissioner, the police chief.
Yeah,
They're like, "Yo, this the son and Jose." They talked to him. They're like, "Yo, this is what's happening. We need to like,
they're vampires.
yeah, we need to like
they,
make a plan."
I like how straight up they were. They were like, "Hey, listen, a third of the people in the town are dead from their blood being drained. I'm gonna say right now, this is vampires." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know if I could believe."
Yeah,
Well, do you have a better explanation?
yeah, very. Oh man. So there's another part in this book where Brittany goes and sees her sister, which you had mentioned at the beginning. She's putting up these missing posters, waiting as a plan to get her sister to come find her. And you find out that they're former slaves. But what's interesting is that the older sister's like, yeah, Seesaw turned me back. He turned me back human. But that's like so just like glossed over. Like it's mentioned here. Brittany's kind of pissed off because she's like, yeah, but you'll die and I won't die. And like, I'll miss my sister.
Believe me, like our parents did. She's like, "Hey, that was 150 years ago, but that's not how it went down. It's not
Yeah,
so
they were
black and white.
sold.
Like we were slaves. Yeah, they went somewhere else. It was against their
Right.
will. And yeah, it was very glossed over. And even I reread this issue because they do the magic tricks and all this stuff. Seesaw multiple times in this issue shows he can make shiny things.
Yeah, right. Sparklies.
Abigail and her like laying there. I don't know. I don't know. Their relationship is weird to me.
Like they're just sleeping.
Yeah, but it's just weird because, like, they have a strong relationship and it's not explored at all.
Abigail, I wrote this in my notes later, but it kind of Abigail is treated like a major character that is like fleshed out, but she's not fleshed out at all.
She's not. She seems like she's controlling the entire thing, but, like, you never get any real reasoning for that or anything.
I do like I like I can't remember Brittany's sister's name, but I love the whole turmoil. The sister's like, I love feeling the sun on my face.
Yeah,
I like
even if I was
living.
gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that is so much better than being immortal.
She even says, like, "You can stay a vampire, like, if you want to. I can help you. I can protect you during the day, like, this you don't have to do it." And her sister gets so pissed off. She's like, "You know what I need? I need to go eviscerate something." And so she drops in on these police officers and just, like, destroys.
Yeah, rips this dude's head off.
The gore is insane. Before that happens, the commissioner finds the dad, and he's like, "Oh shit, you're dead, and you're the guy that we've been chasing for months. What's going on?"
Yeah, he was like, "You're the missing person from 15 years ago when I was still a beat cop or
Yeah,
whatever."
and she's like, "Okay, we told you it was vampires before you walked in here. Like, chill out. We told you. We told you it was vampires. So I don't know what you expected when you walked in here."
Yeah.
But even then, he acknowledges that. I like that he acknowledges, like, it's one thing to be told that, but then to actually see it, there's no way to comprehend it, which makes sense because in real life, if there were real vampires, your brain would break you.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
what
mean?
they say about like aliens. Like aliens are actually like there's a thing called a tulpa. It's a spirit. It's basically a tulpa is a creature or something created from thought. It's like a thought projection. And so a lot of people say like or some of these people say that like aliens you can't understand what they are, so you always see like the big eyes. Like your brain just tries to make it something.
To form something, yeah.
And I do like in this issue, like the dad and the son have like a little heart to heart. And like, I believe you were going to bring this up earlier. He tells him, he's like,
Uh-huh.
you remember the Looney Tunes, like Bugs and Daffy get stuck on an island and they see each other as like hamburgers and hot dogs. He's like, I'm seeing you as a big bowl of tomato soup right now. And I love tomato soup. And
Yeah.
it's a great, like,
He's like, "Yes, I want," and it's the same thing with, like, the "I'm hungry" thing. He's like, "I want to do this. Yes, I want to talk to you right now, but I also want to eat you."
yeah. And he tells him that from the beginning. He's like, I can smell your blood, but
Yeah.
I'm all right.
At this point, we're in issue 6, the last issue of this volume, this story arc, which I can tell you right now, before talking about this, a lot of times we complain, not complain, one of our cons in a lot of these trades are that they don't end. They don't have a closing story. Like, Folklords really didn't close the story like we wanted to. I feel like this one did a very good job at closing it with teasers,
Right.
which could, it could go on. It could had enough mystery that it's like, "Oh, she's gonna take over, whatever, whatever, whatever," but it's also closed.
Yeah, like it I agree. Right before we get to that, I will say, like in the last panel of issue 5, the other generals of Adam's army or whatever discover that Seesaw is a traitor.
Working, yeah, he's working with
Yeah, it
them.
calls him a Benedict Arnold. Um, but yeah, I agree. Like issue 6 was great in it basically the end of that chapter. Like they close it up. Could go on, it could not go on. It's fine either way.
Yeah. One thing I thought was weird was that he went from, like, not displaying the power that he found to now full on just, like,
Neo.
WandaVision level, because on this, he even does the general's attack, and he just puts up one finger and says,
It
"No,"
kind of
and they just freeze.
reminds me a lot of the Matrix at the end of at the end.
Yeah. Or he
No.
just is the man, and then he explodes all of them except the top dude, and he's like, "Well, aren't you gonna shouldn't we kill him?" Which, you always are supposed to kill him, or
Full tap.
you don't leave him. You don't leave him. He left him there, which I thought was a great scene because he says, I'm gonna kill you." Top says that to Seesaw, and he's like, "I will have your heart." Obviously, that's the kinda teaser I want in a book.
Mhm.
Like, that could mean nothing, but it could be very big if it continued, you know what I mean? It could be a big story arc later.
Right.
They assemble all the police officers, they do it the pacing's good. They're just like, it makes sense because it's like an uncharted territory. Like, yes, the police officers are working with all these people, but they also acknowledge that it's not normal.
Yeah.
Like, JJ says, "Hey, they're gonna have your badge," and he's like, "It don't matter because if we don't do this, then we're all gonna be
Yeah.
dead." Oh,
Well, and I love that he's like, "What can stop them?" He's like, "Flamethrowers." And
they're
I
flamethrowers.
love that the commissioner or whatever, captain, he's like, "Yeah, get all the flamethrowers we have." So the cops have flamethrower like, they have those. They're ready.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah,
because.
super weird.
And so they're mobilizing at all the hives, all the biggest hives that they know.
Uh-huh.
And Seesaw and the dad are gonna go fight, big climactic battle, which I thought they even I love the acknowledgement of these things, like, in the story. Like, they see the statue of Rocky, and they're like, "Man, I love Rocky." Seesaw's like, "I never saw Rocky, but I saw Creed, I loved it." And then John Adams is like, "Well, maybe they'll make a movie about this one day," and I'm just like, "Yeah, they're going to."
I think it's interesting. One thing that I had a problem with the art is figuring out time of day. So it's obviously nighttime, or these
Yeah.
two, or Seesaw and the father wouldn't be out and about. But they show this panel of like a nest, and these vampires are like packed in there like sardine. But like, why are they in the building? You know what I mean? Like, why are they there?
Yeah, there's no real background, so it's just like you said, the characters and then, like, the slight environment behind them, and then it's flat.
Yeah.
So it's either white backgrounds, black backgrounds. There's no real emphasis on skies or anything
It
like
doesn't
that.
make a lot of sense for them to go out and fight at night, you know? If you're fighting
Yeah.
an enemy such as a vampire, you would think that you'd be like, "Okay, we'll hold up in this safe room until the morning."
Yeah, the sun isn't as significant as I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, he definitely is.
I get that it's sort of the beginning of his story. He didn't want to be obsessed with work. He was just a nobody cop, but now he's like becoming a
Mhm.
detective. He's getting all these like random promotions to help mobilize, which I get. This is like the beginning of his story. It's kind of like in Once and Future, how that guy was just a researcher and then he gets thrown into this life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see him sort of like
The son is
rise to the occasion.
yeah, the son is deputized. He's like, "I'm not even this isn't my precinct. I can't operate here." And he's like, "You are now, deputy." Like
Yeah. He's like, "There's vampires, man. These are vampires. Who gives a shit?"
yeah, we switch stories. Basically, Abigail is kind of flirting with the mayor, and then she just fucking bites his ass and kills him.
Yeah. And, it's a great panel because I'm like, okay, here we go. This is the story development that we've been talking about. She's a main character without being a main character. Now we get to see her cards are on the table.
Mhm.
But then
Yeah, she just
he's like, hey, I have to talk to you. So I'm like, okay, she's about to reveal her plan. But then she just kills him. She's like, there's no, which I mean, I guess it's kind of like later on you learn some things about her, but she's like, there's no room for men like you.
yeah, I honestly expected her to betray Adams, but
Yeah.
she didn't.
But I think she just kind of knew.
Yeah,
She kind of knew that this was all going to unfold.
yeah,
Yeah, he dies, which is good because he was, like, super sketchy.
yeah,
Just trying to get all these people, man, under his belt, and then he just was fucking feeding them to the vampires.
right.
You see more flirtatious things between her and Josie and
Yeah.
him, which
They're like, "I know we're about to die, but let's
yeah,
make out. Do you snore? Because we're gonna have a lot of sex after
all
this."
that stuff was really forced to me.
Yeah.
Again, to me, all that stuff was in there because that it's gonna be a movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
John Adams is cool, man. This is a cool John Adams. 2017, 2018, cool John Adams. He rolls out and Darth Vader style is like, okay, well, I'm gonna take the dad out first because he's only been a vampire for 3 days. You're down. But then Seesaw's like, you don't know what I got. I got the Kamehameha wave. I'm gonna hit you with,
Yeah.
I'm gonna blast your face off. It's just very ambiguous with what these powers are.
Yeah.
I like the acknowledgement. That goes a long way for me because some of this stuff is a stretch, like the powers, and Welcome John Adams doesn't have powers, but they acknowledge like Seesaw even says, "I don't know what he can do.
Right. Yeah.
I have no idea. Like I've studied this and I've kind of sort of mastered this book, but I don't know what he knows, what he's learned, anything like that. So we're kind of going in blind."
Yeah, and like you say, so Seesaw hits him with a couple of the Kamehameha wave, and then yeah, but then, like, John Adams comes right back, and I wrote in my notes, I was like, "You don't see much more of the power after
Yeah.
this." Like, I really wanted to see this power that he learned that he seemed to be in control of.
I was
John
expecting
Adams
a big fight.
yeah, John Adams just, like, puts him down real quick.
Seesaw obliterates those generals,
Yeah,
Dr. Manhattan style.
right.
And it's just like, where the degree of the powers, I guess, we don't need to know the specifics of them. That's just me being a nerd.
But then the dad comes in, like the cool secondary character that
Old
you
school
forget
style.
about. Yeah, just stabs him through the back with a
He says it the entire time. Like, just it plays back to issue 3 or whatever when they're trying to get rid of all the vampires they've been keeping in the fridge. And, the son is using his gun like a police officer to shoot him. He's like, stab them.
yeah, use the stakes.
Use the stakes. Stab them, man. I told you already.
Yeah.
And then he's sure enough, stab.
But I love that he goes through I don't know if you've seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, in a long time, but Pee Wee Herman
No.
character I'd say Pee Wee.
No, no.
I can't remember the actor's name, but he's in that movie.
Paul
Eh
Rubin?
yeah, Paul Rubens is in that movie, and he gets stabbed, and he goes it's a great scene because he's like, "Ugh,"
Yeah, yeah. I do
like,
remember that.
the lung, he, like, kicks the, like, that's the way I feel like John Adams, like, he is dead, but he's sitting there talking forever, like, he's stabbed through the heart, but basically
Yeah, sometimes you see vampires in some movie iterations, you see vampires get stabbed and then just like
yeah, they disintegrate. Yeah, he's sitting there having a conversation, and he's starting to kinda steam away, but, you know
yeah, you have the cool movie moment where he's like, John Adams is monologuing, and he's like, "Mr. President, you have the right to remain silent."
puts the handcuffs on him, so stupid.
He's like,
Yeah,
why'd you cuff him?"
yeah. But then it switches right back over to the son and Josie, like, fighting all these vampires, and then he grabs Josie, and they start running because they firebomb this apartment building, and I think that is such an interesting parallel because in, like, '85, in Philadelphia, they actually firebombed,
Yeah.
like, the city firebombed its own building, which is, like, crazy and fucked up, and it's like indicative of the times.
Philadelphia's a crazy place, man. That's why Will Smith.
And it was one of those things. It was all about. It was like a black neighborhood. You know, it was like a.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really messed up. So I thought that was interesting. That parallel there.
And the thing about this is like the art doesn't really do backgrounds,
Yeah.
but when they show environments like that, it's just like a art piece. Like it's crazy deep. You know what I mean? Like you really see the emphasis on this building exploding. It gets its own 2-page spread.
Yeah, and it's just really crazy when you think about that, like, I don't know, and when you sit here, you're like, you don't know who the good guys and the bad guys are, like, the vampires obviously are going out because they were told to do that, like, John Adams is, like, forcing them or they starve, right? But now, I mean, they're just kinda the destitute,
Yeah.
right?
He made them.
They're only bad because they're trying to eat other people. It's no different than, like, who's the bad guy when it comes to, like, hunting deer, you know?
Okay, so it's a crazy situation, but it's not unmanageable. Like it could be a situation where, yeah, man, maybe more people should donate a little bit more blood so the vampires don't overrun the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Red Cross, step in. Let's see if vampires can drink plasma.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the plot of True Blood is like they
Yeah.
figure out the synthetic blood.
And yeah, and they can live together. You
Yeah.
know, it's plausible. But then you see, finally, Abigail comes out and she says, "You know what? I'm going to be the founding mother of this new nation."
Yeah. And that's after she sees John Adams, who's been monologuing this whole time. He looks god awful, real gross looking. But Toppy's still alive, you know, should have died. Actually, the other generals, because I see like a mohawk in the background. So
Yeah, because they form back. Damn.
I don't know. But yeah, she kind of just says, like, that's the end of her plot point. I'm the founding mother. Like, I'll take over the legacy.
Yeah, take his remains to where we keep our family, our family's whatever tomb, whatever fucking weird old founding father stuff.
Muslim.
They're just gonna sit out in the sun and just die that way. Like he finally, because you always see them like in the sun for a second, and then they go into the shadows. But I thought he was just gonna finally do like that. I'm staying out in the sun one last time.
Yeah, he says that goobery thing about his hands being his dad's hand, you know. But yeah,
Basically, like you continue the fight.
right. But that's what's so weird is like the father is gonna be alive. Like he just buries him, so he's basically hibernating.
I say it caps off the story, but it also leaves it open.
Yeah, it's like every comic book movie that came out in the 2000s. Like they were all prepared for
Yeah.
sequels.
Yeah.
And then he mentions they say the word Killadelphia. He says there's still vampires here, and I'm gonna take care of them because that's what my father would do.
Yeah. What happened to Seesaw?
Yeah, and I guess that's just what's gonna happen later. You know, like
Seesaw does all that cool stuff, and then he's like, you know what? I'm out.
yeah,
I'm gonna go.
that caps off his
I'm
story.
gonna go be free. But he can't. It can't cap off the story. It still goes on because he's the Goku of the vampires.
Well, I mean, just for
He has
this,
all the stories.
you said you read more. There's more to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this is issue 6. 2 weeks ago was issue 12.
Okay.
Came out. So another volume is done.
I do like that the way that this volume ended.
It's good. The art in starts to get a little bit tighter. So it's I wouldn't say more enjoyable or less enjoyable, but it's a good change of pace. All right, so let's talk about prose. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that this is a self-contained story. It obviously can be extended and it has been, but I appreciate that you could read this volume and that would be enough. And there are some questions that you will have, but overall it caps off the story pretty well. I began to like the art style, but I can't say that it's my favorite.
Mhm.
And I think
I liked it because it was
Yeah.
different. Like so at the beginning, like it took me a second to get into it, and as I've sort of romanticized the story, the art played into kind of
Mhm.
adding emphasis to it. And we've been reading a lot of comic book superhero type stuff lately, so it's very different than that.
Yeah, but I still prefer like last week's. I liked
Yeah.
Folklords, you know, I like that art style, but there's some I don't know, and I really think I'm soured because of that Spawn run. Like it was so bad and it was all this art style and it's hard to tell what's going on. There are some that are really cool. Like I love when it's just silhouettes, like they use a lot of silhouettes. That's pretty cool, but overall it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
But it fits the narrative. I will say that. So the pro is that the art style really fits the narrative, fits the plot.
It's dark. It's a dark book,
Mm.
so it really plays really a lot of shadows in it. Like I said, a lot of silhouette, and it helps it because, like you said, most of these characters are just shadows. Like most of the zombies are just in the shadows.
Yeah. And he does a great job of doing like the feral vampires. I will say that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the art because I don't read Spawn. I stopped reading Spawn after like issue 7.
When it was
So
good.
yeah, so once the 7th issue of him crying about stuff, like, oh man, my life is sad. I'm badass now.
What you do is you listen, you watch, you read Spawn and you listen to like some emo music, and
Mhm.
it'll really make you cut yourself.
See, I just watched the HBO show is cool.
It is good. I have that on a double sided DVD. That's how old it is.
That's my Spawn. All right, the official Wednesday pull list grading chart. I've been looking at different ways to print these out. I don't know.
Maybe magnets.
That'd be cool.
Maybe we can do magnets.
I'll stick it in your wallet on your credit card, guys. All right, so what are you giving it? Simon's first.
I'm gonna give it a D2. I liked it a lot, and to me, that's like a pretty good toast if you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
You know, like you're like, oh shit, I don't have time for it to get dark enough that I want it to, but
Mhm.
this will melt my butter. I can make it. I enjoyed the story. I think the writing was pretty cool, and I love the intermingling of like historical factors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The art kind of takes it down a notch for me, and weird questions like where's Seesaw, stuff like that. Obviously, we know that there's going to be more, but anyway,
Okay, so I'm gonna give it an F5. My favorite part is explaining why. So it is perfectly toasted, but the entire time I felt like this was being written to be a movie.
yeah, close.
Like the entire time, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a movie. This is a movie. This is a movie." Like that, they didn't take me out of it. Like that's toast, obviously, but it's just a little.
Was squished oblong.
Yeah, I was like, I would like a little bit less of the cinematic tone,
Yeah, I can see.
a little bit less.
Like less of the Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liners, like "You're
Yeah.
under arrest, Mr. President."
Yeah, you have the right. Hey, you're talking too much. You have the right to remain silent. And then just like the ambiguity of the powers,
Yeah.
to me, I get it. I get it that it was just like sort of this ominous thing, but it was a little too ominous.
Yeah, there's something about cinematic vampires where, I mean, even in lore, they can like turn into steam and then turn into
Yeah.
wolves or bats or all this other shit.
They acted like bats, but it was more like a zombie vampire hybrid, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's definitely uh I Am Legend vampires than anything else.
Yeah. I'm not mad, and I read this book still, and it does. I would say that it stays about the same. It's
Yeah.
good.
Well, that's good.
Lots of people love it, and I've got every issue, so I enjoy it. I don't have a lot of negative things to say. There's a lot of questions, but as someone that has read it all the way through, it's not like, you know what I mean, it's not as much of a mystery to me. I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, makes sense because."
I will say that it doesn't make me want to read any more of it.
Yeah,
I'm not really coaxed to read the rest.
which is not necessarily a bad thing. This was a good story. You know what I mean? Like, capped off enough like we said it a bunch of times, enough mystery that it was like, "Oh, it could be," but a lot of these things, the mystery is not so mysterious that you're like, "I have to know what happens." It's more like you can kind of make your own assumptions on what happens.
Well, and if you watch TV or you read comic books, like
If
there's
you've seen vampire
well, and
movies.
there's so much like it's predictable in some ways because of all this
Yeah,
other fiction that exists. Not necessarily bad. It's not bad on its part. It's just you can only be so original with all this other
yeah,
stuff.
and it is a fresh take on a vampire story, it
Yeah.
really is. Tying it to these historical events, tying it to John Adams, like, all that stuff makes it a very original vampire story. But like you said, so many vampire stories since black and white pictures, who am I?
The
Like,
black and white pictures,
like,
the talkies.
it's all relatively predictable.
Mm, yeah. But I liked it.
Even the moral struggle of, like, good vampires versus bad vampires. We've seen Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daywalker.
So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like, we've read books that you're like, "Nah, I'm not a fan of." I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Mm.
I do agree with you. We disagree for the first part. I enjoy the art. I know you have the Spawn stigma.
Well, and it's honestly, it was just messy to me. Like, I like kind of that loose style, as again, like I said, like Folklord's kind of a messy style, kind of juvenile style. I think maybe it's the coloring for me. I don't mind the drawings themselves, like, they're good drawings.
Yeah,
The
for
inking
sure.
was really good.
The faces, the emphasis was more on the faces, the actual expression of the characters than anything else in the book.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I can't say that I didn't like it, so.
So you gave it a yeah, me too. I think you're gonna like this one. So next week we're reading Bitterroot Volume 1. If you haven't read it, pick it up, check it, and see if it's on Hoopla. If you use Hoopla or Comixology Unlimited, I believe it's on Comixology Unlimited.
Somebody talked about there's another service that connects to libraries too. They're a wealth of, I mean, like Killadelphia is a fairly new book and they have that first volume on there. So, like, it's a pretty good place to get it if you're just looking to rent it, so to speak.
Yeah. I think it's relatively cheap to still have a library card. It's like $1.
I think it's free.
Is it?
It's, I mean, to get the library card, I think it might cost a little bit, but other than that, it costs nothing.
That's what I mean. I think it's $1 to get
Yeah.
a library card. I think that's what it was at our library.
Yeah, it's like $1 to get it and $5 if you lose it.
It's just to cover the cost of
Yeah.
printing a library card. It's an insane business. Not even insane service.
Man,
You can tell me that the government provides books for us to read?
damn socialists. That's what I'm saying. I can't believe it.
Dare them. Try to get us to be learning. All right, that's enough. We're circling the drain, folks. Yeah, that's going to do it. We will see you guys next week.
Later.